Welcome to How Would You Write It? The podcast where you get a chance to sit down and talk to all creatives in the entertainment industry. Hi, I'm Nania Taylor, and I'm your host. And if you have any interest in the art of storytelling, you're in the right place. So hit that subscribe button and let's get started. I am so very grateful today to have James Mora. He is one of the most accomplished authors, screenwriters, producers, and a literary agent. This man is wearing like 15 million hats, and we're going to get into that. With more than 20 years in the entertainment industry, James, 20, and you're surviving? Lord, we're going to get to that. He is the owner of One More Media and Management. He serves as co-chair of the Independent Writers Caucus, as well as the member of the Organization of Black Screenwriters. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so very thankful that you're here. I am so excited to talk to you about your script. And I wanted to say thank you for letting me read it. And it's called Black Bones Jones. And I'm going to let you, James, tell everyone like the log line a little bit about it, because I want to jump right into it.
The log line is probably it is the most spot on, simplest log line I've ever created for a story. Black Bones Jones is about an ex-slave, ex-soldier who becomes an exorcist. And he is called in to save a town from a marauding evil, not knowing that there are secrets this town has that go deeper than his powers may be able to overcome.
Listen, did y'all hear that? Oh, this script, honey. I was like, this needs to be out right now. Like, this is the temperature, not what's happening socially in the world. What I'm talking about is that we just saw Sinners. And
yes.
I immediately was like, oh gosh, if this came right, like if this was out too, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
this is just pitched. This is so good. Like, oh, it was so good. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, Black Bones Jones mixes the Western genre with horror and supernatural exorcism. What sparked the collision of genres for you? Like, what made you go country, horror, supernatural? Like, what made you go there? What was the inspiration for this?
So I have, since I was like old enough to turn on a television set, been a huge fan of horror, right? And when I was young, like way back in the 1990s, my parents watched like all the Western shows.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Wild West, Gunsmoke, you know,
The
High
Rifleman.
Chaparral. Rifleman stayed on like 24/7. I don't even
Yes.
know how to keep it on. But all of that influenced me. But I would say the biggest influence when it came to Westerns was there was a Sidney Poitier film with him and Harry Belafonte called Buck and the Preacher.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, yeah.
And there was something about that movie. I mean, you know how like you'll see a movie and sometimes it'll stay with you for like a few weeks. This one has stayed with me for like 40, 50 something years.
Oh,
Like just had that kind of an impact on me. And Sidney himself has always been like one of my heroes in life, just for everything that he does.
everything.
But the way that this mesh came together was I wanted to create a story that like really had its own kind of lane. Because at the time when I was really working on it, you know, we was like, we need a black Superman, we need a black Batman, you know, everybody was trying to go that route. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I do want to create a hero, but I don't want him to get sort of lost in that kind of pageantry and you know that whole thing that was going on there. So instead of trying to do something in the present or in the future, I'm like, there's a lot of story in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And what it did for me that I didn't realize that it would do would be that it challenges a lot of the conceptions that people have about people of color in that time period. And it led me to some really, really thought provoking research that really opened my mind to not only what we were in terms of like as a people who had been enslaved, but also what we came with.
The things that we
Yeah,
came with that was lost, some still with us,
yeah,
but we came with things.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And so, in doing my research for the story, because I also did a lot of research on the Choctaw people, which was another like weird, like sinners connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I was doing my research on the Choctaw people, I learned that during the slave trade, a lot of times they were bringing men and women here who ultimately at some point mingled with the Choctaw people. And they were like, one thing led to another. It's like, what did you expect was going to happen? But then this documentary I was watching about this gentleman by the name of Link Ray called Rumble, one of the people in the in the documentary asked a question that blew my mind. He's like, you've got all of these people who come from the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of faith and religion, and you think they don't know anything about God? And that was it. That was the ultimate catalyst for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a line in the script where Jones asks Philip, it's like, what makes you think that my people didn't know anything about God before yours did?
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
and there's
insane
some
because it sits right in the Bible. The first Gentile to be baptized was an Ethiopian.
exactly. And the Ethiopian Bible itself is just like it's such a huge undertaking, but also part of the research. And so that was kind of the beginning for me. That's what like led me on the path. It's like I want to create this character. I want to have him be in a situation where he's challenged. So it's not during slavery, it's at the end of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
But the very people who enslaved him are the very ones who need him. Because you can't put the genie back in the bottle if you don't know how to close the bottle.
Hmm. Great. I will leave right there.
It's that deep.
It is deep. I love this script. Okay, the script opens with an enslaved boy inheriting fire and power. How intentional was it to root the story's supernatural force in African spirituality and language rather than European and Christian tradition? Which I think you get sort of answered.
Yeah, I mean, but I think one of the things that I wanted to and just to kind of go a little bit deeper on that, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't simply that it's just spiritualism, like in terms of like what your faith and religion is. It is very grounded in faith, and the faith that you've got these kind of things and people are gifted with these kind of powers, abilities, and talents, which again is 100% biblical, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to take it one step further is to be able to say this is a story that tells you about something that was meant to harm and to be bad against these people that was turned into something that is for their good or to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you notice throughout the story, Jones himself is never the aggressor in any of the situations. He's always the defender,
Mm-hmm.
except when we get close to the end, and he's just like, "Oh, y'all want to mess around and find out?
No,
Here you
yeah,
go."
you messing around.
Um,
Yeah.
but it says a lot about the inherent nature of a people who come from a place where that's where it all began.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that before we had a written Bible,
Mm-hmm.
how were these lessons passed? And it wasn't just through like someone listening to a sermon per se, but it was through story
Story. Yeah.
and those stories that were repeated that became a part of your not only your lifestyle and your culture but your DNA.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Jacob's transformation into Black Bones Jones is both tragic and mythic a little bit.
Yes.
How did you balance his trauma with his role as a hero?
Ooh, that was a tough one. That was hard because growing up in the 60s and I used a lot of that in building this character. There is that forever struggle in that being being a part of a group of people who've been oppressed and beaten down and everything else, you have that nature to strike back. But at the same time, you also want to demonstrate that I'm not like you. They're not like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about Jones is that he understands that um in spite of everything that's been done to him, what's been done to him is not what defines him.
Yes.
He has come to the realization that I can I can take my life and take what I have been given, this gift, the power that he's been given, and use it in a way that hopefully his hope is that it will make people see people like him differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of the inspiration from that came from the old television show Kung Fu, because that was Kwai Chang King. It was just like, it's just like people had this really negative,
Negative.
kind of bigoted impression of him and people like
Mm-hmm.
him, but he's always the hero, right?
Always the hero. Yeah.
Always the hero. And every at the end of every episode, he leaves people changed,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, now I got to look at people in a different light. And
Mm-hmm.
what was really important to me in this story was the relationship between Poole and Jones, because Poole is not he's more of the everyman that's just like, I know this happened, but like I was like not really equipped to do anything about it. But Jones also reminds him, it's like, look, it ain't on me to hate you, but
Mm-hmm.
it ain't on me to forgive you either.
Yeah. And I think that's
And
I think that's a word for today.
yeah,
We're recording this on September 19th, 2025. Okay.
right.
That is a word for today. And talking about Sheriff Poole, he starts off a little skeptical, prejudiced figure, you know,
Yep.
um, yet he becomes a reluctant ally. Um,
Yes.
what did you want to explore in their dynamic and their relationship?
So what I wanted to do with Poole, and I probably had the most fun with him, because here's this sort of like down to earth meat and potatoes man. He only believes what's in front of him, and a gun and a bullet. And he's forced to confront things that he can't explain or understand.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to give way to the fact that there is more on earth and in heaven than his life experience has brought him to understand or believe in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right from the get-go, I wanted to put him in a situation where it's like he knew before he even met Jones, he knew that he was in way over his head, and he couldn't tell anyone else that. He couldn't tell his deputy or anyone else that, but he knew he was in way over his head. And what I love about Poole is that he was willing to humble himself, to get Jones to come and help him, because at one point he's just like, look, I've come to you hat in hand, which is a metaphor, is practically saying like, dude, I'm begging you,
I'm begging you.
you
Yeah.
know, to come and help me, and not just for me, but for the people in my town.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Poole, there is this sense that like, okay, now I have to question everything I've been brought up to believe about people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to, you've put me in a place where I have to question all of that. And not only that, but like throughout the story, he asked Jones, it's like, why do you think, at one point he asked him, why do you think God let your people become enslaved? And the response, I thought, because it took me a couple of days to figure that one out. I literally stopped at that point in the script,
I'm
but
sure
it
you
took me a
had
couple of
to.
days to figure it out. And the answer that I came back with was like, well, what makes you think he gave you permission to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's really flipping the coin, and not necessarily in a negative way, forcing Poole to see the reality, but
Mm-hmm.
putting him in a place where it's just like, you can't deny this anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. You were a child back then. You couldn't do this. You were a kid. and all of that. But now you're an adult
Mm-hmm.
and you can't deny this anymore. And so you were either with that or you're ready to make a change.
Okay, the bull-lag and the mother beast are terrifying creatures.
Mm.
How did you approach creating monsters that felt original, yet symbolically tied to the horrors of slavery and war?
So, and this again goes back to my research, because one of the things that I wanted to challenge
Mm-hmm.
is that all of the sort of mythos monsters and everything else that we have comes from a very Eurocentric world, right? And we have barely touched the surface of, like, do you honestly think, and again, this is one of those challenging questions, is like, do you honestly think that there weren't any sort of dark creatures here before they got here?
Mm-hmm.
Creatures, and because the indigenous people themselves are very spiritual people, right?
Yes.
Very connected to the land,
Mm-hmm.
to the gods that they worship. And so if they are worshiping, right, if we're taking the whole system of, if there's a god, that means that's good, then that must mean there's also something evil, right?
Yeah.
So that means that there are these
Counterbalance.
things that are right, that are working hand in hand, that they have to fight against.
Mm-hmm.
And Sinners, again, was my confirmation of that, because when they had those Choctaw vampire hunters, I'm like, how much sense does this make? It was a tiny scene, but it was like,
It made
it
so
made
much sense.
it
They
made
would
so
know
much.
what's in their land before anyone else knew.
Anyone
They
else
would
knew.
know.
And here's the thing, it then, for me, it made the indigenous people having the bow and arrow so much more a, I mean, just like a much more huge weapon, not only to hunt and to survive, but to defend
Man.
themselves against evil spirits and things like. I'm like, oh,
Woo.
this this is so deep.
It was. Oh, I love it.
It's so deep. And so, in creating the Bulag and all of the demons, I wanted to draw not only on the fact that there were these things already here,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, like, the research, I could spend an hour telling you about the research. It's like, there are pyramids in the Grand Canyon that nobody
Yes.
talks about.
I told someone that a couple of weeks ago. They were like, no, it's not. I said, yes, it is.
There,
There are pyramids in the
there
Grand
are
Canyon.
there are pyramids in the Grand Canyon, and I tell people all the time. I say, well, think of it this way, and I apologize if I blow your mind. When the war in heaven took place, and a third of all of the angels fell to earth, what makes you think they all fell in one place?
They didn't. Couldn't have.
And if it were just one place, the entire earth wouldn't have needed to be flooded, right?
Exactly. The
And
entire.
a lot of the entire planet had to be
Mm-hmm.
flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those people, a lot of those creatures and things were driven underground. So fast forward to Revelations, when all of this stuff starts to happen, the bad stuff, where does it come from? Underground.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
So 100% makes sense. So again, the correlation between not just saying that, like, if there's something bad or there's something good that can be spread across the world, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
go forth and spread the good news. Same thing, the evil can spread as well, just like a virus. You get sick,
Mm-hmm.
and you let that sickness stay in your body too long, it spreads to other areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you do what is necessary to get rid of it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you only topically treat it, or like surface treat it, it
Mm-hmm.
may hide deep in a part of your body
Mm-hmm.
that manifests later on.
Mm-hmm. Or it goes genetically on to your children and your children's children and your children's children's
Exactly.
children. And if you hear us, if you will, what I'm saying, I don't know if you with me, James. Like, if you have
I'm
that
with you.
evil in you, it's gonna travel down generations and generations.
Yes.
Now we're looking at America, going like, why are we still
Yeah.
having the same problems?
And if you believe the stories about the angels who had children with humans and everything else,
it was, I don't know if you ever saw this. I can't even remember. It was years ago. They had this documentary. I'm not going to say years ago, but it feels like within the past 10 years, they had this documentary about giants. And
Yep.
giants, and this guy was going around all over the world, and he stopped in America, and he was talking to American indigenous, and I don't know which tribe he was from, but the indigenous was talking about, yeah, there were giants, and they had stories about it from, because they told their stories. I kept their stories word of mouth too, from
Right.
generation to
Exactly.
generation, and they talked about these giants that was in
Mm-hmm.
America, and how their people, the indigenous, had to fight against
Right.
these giants that would
Again,
come from
again.
underground.
Exactly. So knitting all of that together, you come to realize that, okay, if the original story came from here and
Mm-hmm.
the original people were there, and then all of these people, even though they came here, they bring their own spirituality, because both of us did. The Eurocentric people and the African people both brought their own spirituality. But then there was always stuff, there was already stuff already here,
Here,
all
yeah.
already rooted into this particular land.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the problem, and here's how the bullag and everything else comes into being. What happens when you mix bleach with ammonia?
Poison.
Poison.
Mm-hmm.
So people who don't know, kind of like Stevie Wonder used to say, when you believe in things that you don't understand, you will suffer.
You will suffer.
But keep in mind, like Pandora, there's always going to be those people. It's like, well, why do your people do this? Show me how to do that. No, this was not meant for you.
Yes.
This
And a
was
lot of
not
people
meant
don't
for
like
you.
being told that they are locked out of culture or religion,
Right,
because they feel like
right,
they should be able to participate.
right, right.
And
But
we
it's not
tell them
about
that, well,
participation.
our ancestors are not going to like that you're participating, and you may
Right,
get hurt if we allow you
exactly.
into this.
Right.
And they still
So
don't listen, and then they end up dying in the bathtub mysteriously.
if those spirits don't recognize you,
Mm-hmm.
or if they can't sense like we're, then problems.
Yeah.
And this is why, if you look at like Bigfoot and so many, like even in places like the Appalachians, they will tell you like, don't if you hear somebody whistling or something
You
in the
don't
middle of
hit.
the night,
No, you didn't. No, you
don't
didn't.
do it.
Mm-mm.
And those things are rooted in some spiritual truths, right?
Yeah.
No one knows exactly anymore, but it's just like, yeah. And it's been passed down from generation to
Generation.
generation.
Generation. Yeah.
um and you can't say that on the other side that there aren't people who are gifted, because you have people who are clairvoyant or have dreams, or or just have that charisma to be able to talk and to make people feel good. It's like all of those are gifts. And so Jones is given a gift
Mm-hmm.
in that, his gift is in rooting out the evil.
Yes.
That's his gift, that's his purpose. But what sets him and everything that he does apart is that the evil that he has to root out, the people who stepped into it, like the one gentleman, the blacksmith,
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they're inviting it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you could be having a bad thought, you could be wishing something bad on somebody and opening door for some darkness to come into your life.
I mean,
And
God
that's
does
still
say in the Bible, He
today.
says, "Do not wish ill on anyone, because the door may," and I'm paraphrasing here, it may
Right,
turn on you.
right. And to kind of wrap this point up, the last thing I wanted to say about it was that biblically, and this is what Jones does, is like, if the power and death lie in the tongue,
Mm-hmm.
how does he defend and fight back? He speaks about it, or
Mm-hmm.
he speaks in his native language, and he calls those things that shouldn't be to go back to where they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a rabbit hole we could go down for days.
I know. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to hold us to listen. When you start making this movie, can I come on set? I just want to come on set. Okay. I guess anyway. I just want everyone to read the script. I want to see the script made so badly. It's just, oh my God. Okay. The script is violent, spiritual, and unflinching about race. Did you ever feel pressure to tone down those elements for commercial reasons?
Ooh. Well, I didn't feel pressure, but I got some pressure.
Oh.
when I started taking it out. And my thing was this, is that I'm not painting a story where white people are the evil. They're not. That's if you're
Yeah,
paying
it's
attention.
not. You didn't make it
Yeah,
as so. No, that's not even
if
how
you're
I took that. Yeah, the script is not even in that realm of blaming
right,
blaming white people
it's
for
it's it's not a blame white people script.
it.
It's
Mm-mm.
a blame evil script.
Yes.
And so if you are truly paying attention to what's going on in the story, because the interactions between Poole and Jones are reminiscent of people who come from two very different backgrounds, who are suddenly thrust into a situation that will ultimately make them friends.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing more evident of that than when the scene where the slavers come across their camp,
Mm-hmm.
and Poole has to pretend that Jones is his property.
Mm-hmm.
And Jones is like, this is like the last thing you want to do to Jones, because that's his trigger, and he goes, and of course he does snap. But in Poole's defense, he's like, I didn't know what else to do. I don't ascribe to that, but it was like five of them and two of us, and only one of us had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Jones understands that. He understood it, the situation, but that doesn't mean that he still didn't feel it.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have people who go, well, I'm not, I'm not a racist, but or people say things like, well, I don't see color. It's like, yeah, you kind of worse, because it's like, if you don't see color, then you don't understand or respect the differences, because
Mm-hmm.
that would be the same thing as saying, like, my friend is Jewish, but I just think that all people are like that. Or it's like, but you can't say a Jewish person and an Italian person, do the same things, have this,
They
come
don't.
up with the same cultural
Yeah.
background.
Mm-hmm.
So there's differences, there's hues and distinctions that we should all try and embrace. But anytime that those are challenged, it's because someone is not comfortable in their own skin.
And that's
and
what
and they
typically I like, they're not comfortable, so they don't know how to make you comfortable. So they say, I don't see color. So
right,
they're trying to make themselves a safe space. And I'm like, that's not how you
right, right,
make me feel safe. Because I need you to see my color. I need you to recognize my
right,
color and what that brings.
right. And
I
so
need
it's
you to
part of,
recognize that.
absolutely. And so part of the story is sort of like in the subtext, trying to dismantle that,
Mm-hmm.
so that through Poole's lens, he sees Jones for exactly who Jones says he is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a black man. This has happened to me, and now I'm doing this. But I am my own person. I am my own unique individual who deserves respect and everything else. So yeah.
I love it. One more question about Black Bones Jones. Now, if it was to, well, a couple more questions, maybe a couple more. Okay. If Black Bones Jones were to hit the screen tomorrow, how do you envision audiences, especially Black audiences, responding?
I will say this. I 100% have to give um a nod and an homage to both Jordan Peele, or not Jordan Michael B. Jordan and
Mhm.
Ryan Coogler,
Yeah.
because Sinners literally, and it was so funny, because after I'd written the script like years before I knew the Sinners even existed.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw Sinners, the similarities and everything in that are so striking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, it's like this. It's like if we were doing double features, it would be Sinners and Black
I know
Bones
that's what
Jones,
my first thought. I was like, I said, I was like,
right?
if this had came out like right behind Sinners, we would have been
Oh,
like 1-2
we
punch
would,
in there because it was, uh, I love
so
this.
good, so good. But what I would hope that especially people of color would take away, um, in a much deeper sense,
Mm-hmm.
because in trying to take the reins of creating and establishing our own narrative, it never makes us. Jones never tries to put himself as above anyone. but he's gifted through tragedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The story itself opens up with a plantation burning,
Yeah.
and his mother being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And so the inherent response of any child that sees something attacking his parent is
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm coming in, I'm going all in.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not come out of anger or rage.
That came out of
That
fear.
comes purely out of love,
Fear
right?
and love. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to protect his mom.
He wanted to protect his mom. And in doing so, put himself in a place where, and again, this is where we go, the metaphors and the subtext are all biblical throughout the story, is that no greater love a man hath than to lay down his life
Right.
for his brother or his mother in this case, right? But again, what happens? That which was meant for evil was now given to someone and turned into something to be used for good.
Yes.
I would I would want us to, as a people, to recognize that each and every one of us is Black Bones Jones,
Yes.
in that we are all gifted that way. We
Yeah.
are all gifted, and that the story of Black Bones Jones is the story of Black America from slavery until now, because the one thing that not everybody, but the people who thrive on hate have always said, it's like one day they're going to rise up against you, and it's like 400 200 something years later, I'm like, we still out here trying to love people and invite folks to the cookout.
Yeah. And
What's your problem?
I think I always like ask that question, like, why were we the ones, that was chosen? And part of me is like, I think it's because we were the originators, the original humans.
Back.
And we still look at people as, and this is just my metaphor for it, my thought process for it. It's like, we're always inviting people to the cookout because everyone to us is family because they all came from us. And so you
Exactly.
can't take our
Exactly.
joy, like everything that they're doing, still can't take our
Mm-hmm.
joy. We're still going to rise. We're still going to be out here loving and caring and doing everything, even though we're tired. We're tired. We are
Oh,
tired.
no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt. No
But
doubt.
we still are these people who are loving and kind and wanting to invite everybody in because as long as you like us, we gonna like you.
Right. Right.
I really truly believe that's because we are the originators and we're just welcoming family back in. Like, come on back,
100%. And I don't know if you saw this on TikTok, but nothing was more evident for me than the whole Black and Ginger movement.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I saw
which
that
is
too.
still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that that was all started by a Black woman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was basically was like, oh, if they gonna do y'all like that, then come on,
Yeah,
y'all
y'all
gonna be
come over
family.
here. Y'all are safe with us. Like, come over here. We understand. We've been through
100%.
that. You good over here.
100%. And so many people who I've seen who shared stories where I'm now friends with, like literally in tears, or just like, no one's ever tried to love on me like that before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been called this is, and I'm like, that was happening to y'all? Because we think it was just only happening to
Oh, no,
us,
us.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We
Mm-hmm.
think it was only happening to us. And it's like, no. So it's like Black Bones Jones is that character, that person. And again, this goes back to also to my homage to Sidney Poitier, who said, I will not be disrespected, but at the same time, I don't have to disrespect you to own my own dignity. And I
Yes.
think that at the end of the day is the message that I want people to leave, having seen, when they see Black Bones Jones, to leave that, to leave the theater going, I can see myself in him, because he didn't sacrifice his dignity
It is.
in spite of what his past was. He
Yes.
didn't let it change him. He evolved from that.
Yes, he did. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about this Black Bones Jones being produced. I see that you have producer Warren Zide. Final
Yeah.
Destination is attached.
Yep.
Producer. So any news that you can tell us about it?
Um, I
Anything?
will. Uh, what I can share is that Warren is a huge fan of the story. He didn't initially realize that it was based on a book. So
Mhm.
again, everybody should be out there creating IP. You know me about that.
Yeah.
Um, but he did manage to get it to UTA, and they are now talking to some folks. So fingers across that we can bring this across the finish line. Hopefully before book 2 comes out, because yes, there is the second Black Bones Jones book in the works, and there's some spinoff material as well.
And
So
where can everybody find the book?
so the book can be found anywhere books are sold. You can get a signed paperback edition if you go to Dark Anthem Press, all one word.com, and you can find the book there. Um, and yeah, it's on Goodreads. It's in you can go to Barnes and Noble, any place where books are sold. You can find it. Um, it'll eventually be in my TikTok shop here one of these days when I'm not doing 100 million and one things at the same time. But yeah,
You
it's
got a
it's out there.
thousand hats we got to talk about.
A
Okay, I'm writing it down myself.
lot. I do a lot.
So let's talk about all these hats that you wear. Let's talk about what started you off in the entertainment industry. Like, what was your initial? Were you a writer first? How did you first, step your toe into this industry?
So I've always wanted to be a novelist since I was 11 years old. I just knew that from the way back. But the way that I ended up getting into the entertainment industry was I used to compose music for fitness competitors and bodybuilders for their pro routines.
Mhm.
And one of my clients and her trainer came by one day. We got to talking about comic books, about this and that and everything else. And 3 hours later, he's like, "Have you ever thought about writing a short or doing a film?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what that would look like." But fast forward 4 months later, I shot my first short, and I got hooked. I'm like, I could do this. I could like live this life. And so I started studying. I did Robert McKee's story seminar. That was a fire and brimstone experience. And then one day I just realized that if I wanted people to take me seriously,
Uh-huh.
I needed to move to LA. And so with nothing but a wing and a prayer and a couple of dollars in my pocket, I
Mhm.
jumped in. Uh, didn't know anybody really, but just started getting around trying to figure out what do I need to do. And I started PAing on some indie projects. I ended up getting a lot of background work. I was still doing some voice work and
Mhm.
still doing some DJ stuff. Flying back to Ohio for some big events. Um, but I think the thing that really transitioned for me was the first time I had a meeting at NBC. I'd written a spec for Law and Order SVU, and the lady that I met with, she was like, "I just want to know that one of our people set this up,"
Mhm.
and I don't understand. She's like, "No, I was just wondering initially because when I read this, I'm like, this sounds too much like what we do." So I was thinking that you were a plant that someone was playing. I'm like, no, this is me studying the show, and so um, that turned into another couple of meetings, and I decided I just being a screenwriter was my thing, and tried and made all the mistakes. I made every single one of the mistakes starting out,
Mhm.
um, and learned how to fall in love with the process. That rewriting is the best thing that you can do for any screenplay that you create. Started helping people with their projects. So I eventually got to meet a gentleman who's been both a mentor and a friend, Sean Cunningham, who created the Friday the 13th series. So yeah, so it's just like me loving horror and meeting Sean is just like that it was a match made in heaven. Um, I did some acting. I got to work on a Dick Wolf show, an unaired pilot, which I was over the moon for. But as the industry and everything started to change, I started to realize that opportunities have been and will still be few and far between because there's just so many outlets, but there's 10 times the people trying to fight for them.
Yeah.
And when the writer's strike happened, I had a lot of writer friends who are great writers, but like couldn't get representation or couldn't get into the door without because they didn't have representation. And so I'm always like, instead of focusing on the problem, what's the real solution?
Yeah, what's the solution?
And the solution for me was to create one more media and management. And so for a lot of my, some friends, I was just like, look, if you need to have a manager that can, it's like they won't accept it unless it comes through your manager, whatnot. I'll be that person for you. And so with my own manager, he's been sort of like guiding me. It's like, well, do this, don't want to do that, don't bite off more than you can chew, don't overpromise, and let everyone know this is a marathon, not a sprint, and
And
it may
you're
take a
right
while,
about that. You are right
you
about
know,
that. It can take years.
years. Yeah,
They can say, "Hey, we like it," and they got it with them, and you be like 6, 8, 9, 10 months later, going, okay,
right.
don't do anything."
And so it taught me a lot about the business and taking that expertise as well as what it's like to actually be a writer. I let the folks that I represent know, it's like, look, when you come to me saying, oh, James, I don't understand why it's taking this long and this and that, and all the stuff that people talk about, oh my God, I'm so sick of writers complaining. I'm like, I understand why you're complaining. I said, but here's what you should be doing instead of complaining. And, I say, you need to just follow Uncle James's rule about screenwriting. Ass plus chair equals script. Keep writing. No matter what you do, keep writing.
Yeah.
You got a project that managed to get in someone's desk, keep writing. If there's a production company that's interested in optioning your script, keep writing because you don't know where those deals will ultimately go.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's always been about let's find a way to do business rather than to just sit around and complain. And so as I started getting further and further into this, learning more through the organization of Black screenwriters and a number of other people that I've been fortunate enough to work with and work on some films and some TV shows, I got to understand that like what we do as writers a lot of times is we lead with our hearts and we lead with our emotions when we should be leading like a business. We should be treating everything that we do like a business.
Yes.
And it struck me as funny that like I would even be talking to people because I used to teach with roadmap writers that there would be people who would get upset with me, upset because I said, well, aren't you writing it in final draft? And they're like, well, I don't want to pay that money. I'm like, it's not a payment, it's an investment.
Yeah.
Because if you can actually sell a script or get hired to write a script, you're going to make that back 10, 20 times over. So I don't understand the disconnect.
Yeah.
But again, part of that was not thinking like a business.
Yeah.
And so in everything that I've tried to do from One More Media and Management, from Dark Anthem Press, which is now one of the publishing imprints that I own,
Mm-hmm.
to help screenwriters, primarily the idea was since we're all being told like we're only want, people are only interested in IP, well, fine, let's create IP. But really, I'm like, a screenplay is IP. So what am I missing here? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so let's not complain, let's play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're looking for is they're looking for you to have this published through a recognized legitimate publishing company, and you've got an audience that you're building. I'm like, fine, we'll do that. And I created Dark Anthem Press, and a number of people were just like, well, James, I don't know if that's going to work, you're not Random House, you're not this, you're not that, and you got to sell at least 1 million copies. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to prove it. And that's when I took Black Bones Jones, the screenplay, and turned it into Black Bones Jones, the novel, which is slightly different, but still a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I went out, I'm like, this is based on IP. And you can go out and search on the internet and find out where it is. And so the long and short of it is the reason why Warren and UTA and all the people who are very excited and interested in trying to do something with it is because the very thing that I've been trying to tell everyone to do, I did it for myself first to prove it could be done.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could have completely gone the other way. But now that we know that there's a path forward, it doesn't have to be exactly the way that I've done it. But like, why would you not do this?
Why wouldn't you
It's
take those steps?
yeah. And if we're talking the entirety of time from the first day that I wrote down ex-slave, ex-soldier,
Uh-huh.
exorcist until this very day, we're talking 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. You got to have patience in this industry, but you had a game plan. And I'm so
Exactly.
thankful that you're
Exactly.
willing to share the game plan to the audience.
Yes, because again, I as a writer, I mean, I know the love and the passion that we have for story, right? I
Yeah.
come up with a new idea, I will jump out of bed to go and write it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: the discipline has taught me. It's like, James, if you got another story that you ain't finished yet, write down whatever notes, put them aside, go finish that other story, go do the business,
Yes.
get that
Yes.
one together, get it written, get it
Yes.
rewritten, do all the things to make it right,
Yes.
and get ready to take to the marketplace.
Yes.
Come back and you've got another exciting story to do. So I'm never of a mind that, oh my God, I just need someone to read my story, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the attitude most writers come out with. I'm more of like, hi, my name is James. Are you interested in doing business today? And whether that answer is yes or no is wholly irrelevant, because if you're not, cool, I'm moving on down to the next person. I keep it moving. I just keep it moving.
Now because I'm up here like I need to write this down for myself. Ooh, okay. All right. Okay. All right, James. Well, I'm gonna have to have you back. You're gonna have to come back, James.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to.
You have to come back. I have so enjoyed you. I have so enjoyed talking about Black Hole shows. I have loved talking. I'm gonna get the book. I'm gonna get the book now because I gotta get the book now. So I'm gonna get that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I am so thankful and in awe of you and your knowledge, and I appreciate you coming on. And I pray that the audience they heard your gems of just wisdom about
Thank
this
you. Thank you.
industry. And I hope to have you on to even talk even more. I'm sending all the best energy. Oh, I can't
Please,
wait to see this on screen. Oh,
please
I
do.
can't wait.
Please.
And I know the audience is just hearing me. You just don't understand. If you had read the script, you will understand why I'm like.
Yeah. And I'll say this: the script is harder than the book. The script is harder than the book
Oh, okay. Then now
because the
I'm now really want to see
yeah.
the difference in it now.
Mm-hmm,
Now
mm-hmm.
now I want to see the difference in it now. So okay. I'm excited
Because
about
the scripts always go a little different places than the book does, but it was just like, and this was something that I got from Warren. It's like, if you could take the he's like, if you could take the brakes off and you knew that you had, like, money was not an object for this script, what would you do? And I'm like, Warren, you can't tell me that. He's like, no, I'm telling you that. He's like, think of it that way and go do what you do. And I'm like, done. I said, I'll see you in 10 days. It's like, you won't believe it, but I'll see you in 10 days. In 9 days, I sent him the script that you read. And he was like, oh, what?
it. Isn't it another way to just kind of think about it too? Like if
Yes.
to approach every kind of project, like if you had unlimited power and finances for it, how would you
What?
what would you pour into that script that you would want to
Absolutely.
see on screen
Absolutely.
without anyone? You already got the yes, you already got the finances.
Right. Right.
Like,
And there's some things, after seeing Sinners, I would still go back and change now. Because I'm just like, I wish y'all had spent more time over here with this or this more with that. And I'm just like, I can go do that now. I
yeah,
can do that now. But
yeah.
I'm very thankful. I'm very appreciative, and I'm very mindful of the fact that I have a gift that I've been given that is not simply just to keep to myself, but to help use, shine a light, and inspire other people to do the same. I want to be the guy 10 years from now that someone runs up to me and go, yo, you were the guy that inspired me to get into this business. And I get to see their work and be like, please save me a seat at your premiere and make sure that somebody got some liniment for my bad back. Cause I know we're gonna be in there a while, but we good. I will show up.
James, where can everyone find you?
So the best place to find me is on TikTok. Look for Uncle James on TikTok or One More LLC on TikTok. You could also find me at onemore.com, ONEMOORER.com. That is our main website. And from there, you can find the links to Dark Anthem Press, to OM2, to the writing services that we offer, because I do teach still people about not only how to write a screenplay, how to market themselves, but also now how to use social media as a way to not only build an audience, but to really establish your brand. And once you really have that, it's just like you can do what you want. You can do what you want.
Yeah, I definitely got to have you come back. Oh, there's something to talk about.
I would love to come back. I would definitely love to come back for real.
Well, I thank you, but I can't let you get away without asking you the how would you write it question.
Okay.
If you had the last video store, let's say the last blockbuster video store,
Uh-huh.
what two past or current IPs would you have or recommend for someone to
Ooh.
watch? TV or
Okay. Okay. So both of them would be films. Um, the first one is The Car, which is like one of my favorite all-time horror movies of all time. This is a movie from the 70s. Um, had Ronnie Cox, James Brolin, believe it or not, Melody Thomas Scott before she became Nikki Newman on The Young and the Restless. Yes, is in this movie. I love this movie because what what I don't like about movies today is that there's too much explaining. There are too many people going, well, you need this. Like, no, just like there's a car comes out of the desert, it's evil, and it's going to kill people, and that's all you need to know until the end of the movie. And it doesn't explain, it doesn't tell you anything about about like what this and that. There's nothing to do other than sit back, get a big old bag of popcorn, watch, and enjoy. And for what they did back in those days in the 70s, the effects that they pulled off, tremendous with such a tiny budget. Um, the other film that I would recommend, um, and it is a Sidney Poitier film that is an amazing character study in terms of like how to write really deep characters. Now, you might be thinking I'm going to say To Sir with Love. That's not it. That was deep, but there's another film. One of his earlier films is the only film that I've ever cried on. It's called A Patch of Blue. If you are a serious filmmaker or
yeah.
screenwriter, this film in terms of how to create heartfelt, dynamic, moving, strong characters is an absolute must. You have to see this film.
I love it. James, thank you again for coming on. How would you write it? I'm gonna have him on again, audience, and get some more gems from him and some more good news about what's going on with his films and what he has coming up next. And I just want to know all of that. But definitely follow him on TikTok because that's where I found him on
Yes,
TikTok.
yes, indeed.
Okay, he's dropping gems on there too. So
Mhm.
definitely follow him on that. Get the book.
Get the book. Please
Get
get the
the
book.
book. Okay? Get it. All
Please
right?
get the book.
Get the book. So I am just going to say to my audience, if no one has told you today that they believe in you, I believe in you.
Uncle James did. There you go.
I believe in you.
Thank you,
This,
Naya. Thank you so much for having me.
you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Naya. Thank you so much.
You're
You are you know what? I don't know if people that you get on here with tell you this, but like you are just as bright of a light that are giving people an opportunity to be seen, and you are a blessing. You are a blessing. Let nobody tell you different.
thank you. Don't have me cry. Don't have me cry. Yeah. Okay. But with that being said, everyone, have a good one. And we will see you next time on How Would You Write It?